Good evening. It's about 9:30 in the evening and we're heading to Amarillo, Texas. And then I'm going home. We are between Spearman, Texas and Stinnett, Texas. I say we, I guess it's me. This is my second Holcomb, Kansas to Amarillo run. I did one last night. It's only about 230 miles one way from Holcomb, Kansas to Amarillo. We got a local guy there in Garden City that runs this a lot. We have a lot of loads going into the Tyson IBP in Amarillo. Drop and hook, then I'll pick up an empty, then I'll go home. It's Wednesday, so I'll be home, early in the morning. It's about an hour and a half from Amarillo to my house. Hour and a half, well, yeah, about an hour and a half from the Tyson plant. The Tyson plant's kind of out of town, so early in the morning. Probably be home till Monday. Getting kind of tired. I'm getting to where I'm only sleeping about 4 hours at a time. And I know when I start getting insomnia, it's time for me to go home. Been a year and a half in Alaska sleeping in a truck, living in a truck, with the exception of the 2 weeks last year I went home. So they're catching some more illegals. They caught some in Indiana the other day. That's good. That's good. Oklahoma's caught some more. They did a sting in western Oklahoma a while back. Now they just did a sting on I-40 in eastern Oklahoma. So I saw a news story about it. And I saw some woman in the comments say something about, she made some kind of remark about, why don't you worry about things that are actually important to people from Oklahoma? Don't we have any other kind of crime you need to be dealing with? And I'm like, lady, this is important. And I forget what I said in reply, but this is important to everybody. I've been doing this 30 plus years, and I can't remember prior to the last few years, it was almost unheard of to hear about a truck just plowing through traffic and not stopping. I'm not going to sit here and say it never happened, because it may have, but it wasn't like every few months, right? This is becoming more and more common. It didn't used to be. If you had a horrific accident like that involving a truck, it was a very rare thing. In fact, accident rates were dropping in the trucking industry for years, and I've said that many times before. Before the electronic logs, before they changed hours of service rules, before we started letting in a bunch of immigrant drivers, the accident rate was going down. It's just a fact. Now it's not. So it affects everybody. affects everyone. You know, it depresses the wages of the drivers. There are dangers on the highway. Some people just don't get it. One thing, it's the 5th of November, it's like in the upper 40s. It's pretty nice weather for this time of year for the high plains. You know, for the Texas Panhandle, Southwest Kansas, you know, Eastern Colorado, this whole area. You know, I got a feeling maybe wintertime's going to hold off for a while, and then it'll just hit us really, really hard and fast or something. You can't hold it back forever, but I'll enjoy the nice weather while I can. You know, it should be, you know, down to freezing this time of the evening, this time of the year. Seen it snow in the Texas Panhandle in October. But I don't know, we'll see. I haven't really seen much snow at all since, I mean, it was already snowing in Alaska. If you watch my last couple of trips up the Haul Road, you know, I was already having to chain up. But since I've been down here, the only snow I've seen, there was a little snow on the ground in Wyoming the other day. But I mean, that's Wyoming, you know. And I know they got some snow in the mountains west of Denver, but I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong. Lights of border out there on the other side of the canyon. I got an hour and 39 minutes left on my 70-hour clock. That'll give me an Amarillo. Show a few minutes for my drop and hook, and then of course I can go on personal conveyance to go home. And I wanted to squeeze this one last load in. Like I said, I did one of these last night. We weren't sure if I was going to be able to do another one or not. Dispatch, I said, yeah, I think I can squeeze another one in. As long as I have a little over 4 hours, it's about 4 hours from Holcomb, Kansas to Amarillo. And then you need a few minutes to show you drop and hook, you know, on each side. As long as I've got that, I can get another one in. So. Got in a little over 3,500 miles this last week. The week before that, I got 4,000 in. But I had more live unloads this past week than I did the week before. And that kills your miles. Little town up here, Stinnett, Texas. They have a cop. They have a cop who works during the day, and they got a cop that works at night. saw a guy last night. He was over at the Loves, and if you ever been to the Tyson IBP plant in Holcomb, Kansas, there's a Loves right there at the end of IBP Road. Loves is really good about sticking a truck stop really close to these packing houses and things. You know, it's kind of a smart idea. But I saw him. He pulled through the fuel island and then stopped. And he got out, opened his trailer doors, and I'm thinking, what's this guy doing? Maybe he's checking his load. I thought he had a load on. He wasn't. It was empty. But he got the bucket. You know, they keep the buckets out there with the squeegees to wash your windshields. Well, he takes the bucket and he climbs up in the trailer with the bucket of water. And he splashed. You can see him throwing the bucket of water on the floor. And I'm thinking, dude, if you're going over to the plant, they'll wash that trailer out. They've got an auto wash. And all you gotta do is back up to it and they'll wash your trailer out. So I don't know why you're doing this. So anyway, later on I went to go get my load because it wasn't ready yet. But later on I went to go get it. And I saw he was there. He was in line checking in. Well, he went past the guard shack after he was there for a minute, spun around and went back out. But anyway, when I came out, I went down, got my trailer, come out. I was talking to the guard because they all know us because we're in there multiple times a day. You know, we've got a terminal there in Garden City, which is just down the street. Our local guy, he's in there just about every day. He's running these Amarillo loads or whatever, or he's just bringing empty trailers in there for him. We've been going in there for years, so everybody knows us. And the lady said something about having to reject the trailer or something when she was checking my seals and everything. I said, oh. She goes, I said, why'd you have to reject them? She goes, well, he had a lot of blood in there. That's what y'all wash him out, don't you? She goes, yeah, but if they've got that much blood on the floor, it's not going to get it all off. They need to go down and get it steam washed. You know, that auto wash only does so much. You know, and I said, oh, that must have been what he was doing at the Loves. She goes, what do you mean? And I was telling her about how he went in there with the bucket and dumped the bucket of water, and she goes like, oh, that's what he, okay. She goes, well, that's not going to do it. I said, no, he's going to have to go down and get it washed out properly. But I kind of felt bad for the guy. I don't know where he unloaded that he had so much blood in the trailer. But yeah, they're not going to load you if you got that much blood on the floor. And like I said, the auto wash is not going to get all that out. It's just not going to do it. I don't know why I told that story. It's just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that happens, you know. Like, if you don't have 3/4 of a tank of fuel, they'll reject it. Now, there's a Love's right up the street. It's not that big of a deal. And there's a TA there in Garden City. And they just opened the Maverick. But, yeah. I've seen them turn those guys away, and the guys get pissed off, but, I mean, that's been their policy for forever. We're going to drop down in the canyon here, and I think they're doing road work on the bridge over the Canadian River. Also, a rule of thumb, if you go to that Tyson in Holcomb, or if you go to the Tyson in Lexington, Nebraska, do not have load locks in the back of your trailer. They will make you take them out. because they use an auto wash, and you'll tear that auto wash up because it gets really close to the floor when it washes it out, and you can't have those load locks in there. So just a word to the, just a word of warning if you're pulling a reefer and you've never been to the Holcomb, Kansas plant or the Lexington, Nebraska plant. You'll have to take your load locks out. You'll have to leave them up there at the guard shack. Or strap them to the back of your cab. We've got one of those holders in the back of ours. We don't use load locks very often because mostly what we do is this drop and hook stuff like this. But every once in a while, so we'll use them. So we keep 4 in a load lock holder on the back of the cab. Like the other day when I was in Idaho, that was a live load, and she told me, she goes, before you back up to the door, because it's one of those where you don't open the doors, you just back up to the dock and they open them from the inside. And she told me, she goes, before you back in, make sure you throw 2 load locks in the back because they're going to use them. And so that's what I did. And when I got to our yard in Garden City, I grabbed 2 more load locks to put in my holder because we're always supposed to have 4 load locks back there just in case. Yeah, there's still do this. This will probably go on till next summer. They'll probably finish it. Although if the weather stays nice like this, they might be able to finish it before winter. I don't know. Just depending on what the weather does. Weather's funny in the high plains, man. I've lived here for a while now, and we can have nice, unusually warm evenings like this, and then in a couple days when those Arctic fronts can drop through here and it can get down below 0. I mean, it just bam, just like that. I've seen it 20 degrees in the morning and 90 degrees in the afternoon in the spring. It's crazy. One of the few places I've ever lived where it can be 110 in the summer and get below 0 in the winter. I guess there's probably parts of Nevada like that, but and then Kansas, anything up here in the middle of the country. I don't know if it exactly hit 110 in Kansas, but it get pretty warm. But yeah, this whole high plains region is the weather can get pretty bipolar. It definitely keeps you on your toes. Excuse me. It really makes you think how the pioneers, back in the day, how they dealt with it. Another nighttime video. I apologize for that, but I've been doing a lot of overnight running lately. Although I came back this morning, well, this afternoon after I took my break. It was daytime. Part of that trip back was at night or early in the morning. I stopped in Bryan's Corner, Oklahoma. I got there about 4 this morning, I guess, and took my break. Now, if you've never been in the Borger, Texas, This is how you build a proper roundabout. Right here. Which we're about to come up on. This here is a proper roundabout. I mean, this thing is huge. Plenty of room for a truck. Plenty, you're not running up over curbs or anything like that. And I've got my axle slid all the way back. Usually if we're going from Holcomb to Amarillo, we keep our axle slid back. And if we're going back to Holcomb as well. Because we're going to have to slide them back when we get to the plant anyway, and it's not that long of a drive. So we just keep them slid back. But plenty of room in that roundabout. That's how you build a proper roundabout. They build these little bitty roundabouts and nowadays, and you got to drive over the curb. I don't care if you have your axle slid all the way up. You still got to drive over the curbs and everything. It's ridiculous. When I was hauling freight out of Carlisle in Fairbanks, Alaska, there's a roundabout right there you got to go through to get to the Carlisle yard. And we come through there with a set of doubles. And I mean a set of Alaska doubles, which could be two 45-foot trailers or a 53-foot trailer and a 40-foot trailer. You know, these are big doubles. And, you know, because your back trailer's all up over the curb and everything. And it's just like, I mean, y'all knew Carlisle was there when you, not only is Carlisle there, but you got the fuel terminal where the fuel trucks are coming in and out of. And then there's another trucking company down that street. They pull doubles out of there. It's like, you know, if you're going to build a roundabout, build a big one. Now, Wisconsin got smart, and Wisconsin passed a law years ago that said that trucks have the right-of-way in roundabouts. They always have the right-of-way, which means when you get in a roundabout in a truck, he can take the entire thing. He's got the right-of-way. For that reason, you gotta have the right-of-way. Even if it's one of these that's got a double lane, which I take both lanes anyway if they have a double lane. There's one, where's that at? Clovis, New Mexico. There's one outside of Norfolk, Nebraska too. It's got two lanes. I take both. I mean, I have to. I can't let anybody get beside me. Because I'm going to end up pushing them up against the curb. You know, it can be dangerous. Do it. Stay right there. There you go. I don't trust anyone when I see them come out on a side road. People do the craziest things. Never, ever, ever, for all you guys just getting in this business, and people in cars too, it doesn't matter. Never, ever, ever trust that the person in that other vehicle knows what they're doing or is not going to do something just totally stupid. Let me tell you something. I was sitting at the Loves in Bennett, Colorado the other day, and I must have watched at least half a dozen cars run up into the truck parking and then stop in the middle. They're looking for the gas pumps. But they passed that big sign that says autos with an arrow. They totally went by that and turned into the driveway that says trucks with the big arrow. Now I saw one do it, and then they turned around and then they went over toward the diesel pumps. I said, yeah, there you go. You take that Toyota Highlander over there and you fill that sucker up with diesel. I'd like to see if you even make it off the lot with that. You know, so never, ever, ever assume, you know, that someone is not going to do something just totally stupid, like pull out in front of you, pass you up, jump right in front of you, and then slam on the brakes to make a turn, or just whatever. Never trust them. And when I started driving 30 plus years ago, it was mainly just the cars you had to worry about. Now you got to worry about the cars and other truck drivers. So you've got to drive your truck, everyone else's car, and other guys' trucks. Or at least try to outthink them. You know, and you get to get a sixth sense about it after a while. You know, you'll see a car doing something, you're thinking, okay, that guy in that car is going to give me grief. You know, just for whatever reason, I just know it. I can just feel it. That car in front of me or in the other lane beside me or whatever is going to give me grief. You do this long enough and you know it. Or I'm going to go past this other truck and I can just, something's just telling me I'm going to get halfway around this guy and he's going to get butthurt and speed up. And then try to hold me up out in the left lane. Because there's some guys who think that's funny for whatever reason. Alright, this road takes you between Borger and Panhandle, Texas. I mean, we're in the Panhandle, but there's a town called Panhandle. And we're going to go by the north unit of the 4-6's ranch, which is where they do most of the filming for Yellowstone. It's on the north unit. The main part of the ranch is down by Guthrie, Texas, which I've pulled a lot of oil off of. I've got videos on my channel of me going to the 4-6's, the main unit, which is 100 miles south of here. The 4-6's is huge. It's a huge ranch. This road can get quite treacherous when it snows. They do a pretty good job of plowing it, but you got a lot of sharp curves and little humps on it. You got to kind of be careful if it gets icy. Thought I saw a car, I guess not. Thought I saw headlights. They get lost in these little hills and you don't see them for a minute. Excuse me. Not really much to see out here. In the daytime or nighttime for that matter. Is pretty much open rangeland. red lights blinking, flashing out there. That's all in stupid wind farms. Ugly up the landscape out here. They ugly up the landscape. They kill the birds. They don't really produce enough electricity to justify their existence, but people out there get rich off of them. That's why they're there. Take the little woman out tomorrow for a steak. Haven't had a good steak in a while. I mean, I eat meat every day, but steak, haven't had one in a while. I don't know, they opened a pretty nice Indian restaurant in town. Some guy from New Zealand. It's an Indian restaurant. He also does a little Chinese food. Not a lot, but does a little Chinese food. Just does a little bit all around food. You know, he does a little American food, but mainly Indian food. He does a good like lamb curry. I like a good lamb curry. Buy some steaks and grill them. Since the weather's been nice lately, we can do some grilling. Probably post this one tomorrow at the house where I've got good Wi-Fi. Excuse me. The last one I posted, it was over an hour long. It took forever for that thing to upload. Because I was in Colorado, and man, Colorado has never had a good signal. If you don't have Wi-Fi in Colorado, you can be in the middle of Denver and not get good service. I asked somebody about it one time. Somebody worked at a cell phone company or worked for like, you know, one of the stores like T-Mobile, Verizon. And she said she was from Colorado. And I asked her about that. She goes, "There's just not enough towers. They just, for some reason, they just won't put up enough towers in Colorado." So anyway, wasn't trying to, you know, diss Colorado on their cell service. I'm just saying. The last video I posted, it took me forever to get it to load or to upload because I didn't have a great signal. So I'll upload this one tomorrow at the house where I got Wi-Fi. And I guess I'll try to do a live stream while I'm home. I'll do one from the house. We got a lot of these wind farms, man, because we have a lot of wind. Messing with the camera, I know I've got ADD real bad, man, and I can't stop fiddling with stuff. I'm never satisfied with the way it is. I apologize. Hopefully there's not a lot of trucks trying to get in there tonight. Sure was a lot of them trying to get into Holcomb. Then you get the guys who pull up to the guard shack. You know, they've been sitting in line for 20 minutes. They finally get up there to the guard shack, and then they got to look around for their pickup number. It's like, dude, you should have been doing that back there. Or they tell them the load's not ready. They want to argue with the guards. And the guard has nothing to do with it. They don't pick and choose whose load's ready and when. It happens. Most of the time they have them ready by what they call the drop date. You know, they're supposed to be ready by a certain time. Sometimes they don't. Mine went all the way down to the wire tonight. By the time it was supposed to be done, that's when it was done. Sometimes they'll have them done early. I've seen them done a day early. I've run these Holcomb and Amarillo loads, get back to Holcomb, and my next load that was supposed to be ready till that evening, I get there like 4 or 5 in the morning. My next load's not supposed to be ready till 6 or 7 that evening. It's ready already. So I'll pick it up and go down to the truck stop and go to bed. And that way, when I'm done, I can just take off with it. It happens. Sometimes they're running behind. It happens. This IBP plant in Amarillo is famous for being late. JBS in Grand Island, Nebraska. I've been so late there, I've still been sitting there waiting for the load at the time when it's my appointment time to unload it down here in Garden City. It happens. You know, we get paid for that. Some of these guys want to berate the guards, or it's not the guards, they have absolutely nothing. They don't even work. Well, JBS, their guys actually work for JBS, the guard But most of them, like Tyson, on it, that's a totally separate company. They have nothing to do with it. Come to this beef plant in Amarillo, make sure you got 3/4 of a tank. I filled mine up in Holcomb, so especially this time of year with these cooler nights, it might fire up 3 times between Holcomb and here, maybe. And it's not going to run very much, so the thing's still almost full when I get down here. But there's no truck stop close to this one. You're going to have to go all the way down into town, which is a few miles. So make sure you got 3/4 of a tank. There is a little fuel stop here in Panhandle. So if you're coming down this way, and if you're not sure, stop in there real quick and get out and look. Otherwise, you're going to be driving into Amarillo. And like I said, it's a few miles from where the plant actually is. The plant's out of town. I've seen guys, lose it because they go in there and they're like, "Oh, you gotta have 3/4 tank." Well, but I'm supposed to pick a load up and be. I said, well, I understand that. But you're gonna have to go. You have to put some fuel in it. Well, was there any place close? No, you're gonna have to drive into town, 5 or 6 miles. know you probably don't care to know all that. Well, you know what, bro? If you'd have used a turn signal, some guy to my left there made that turn, didn't bother to use a turn signal. Seems to be sitting there waiting to make a right turn. Oh well. Seconds out of my life. Not a big deal. First world problems, as they say. You know, there's starving kids in Nairobi or wherever. I don't know. It's just annoying, you know, when you're sitting at a light where you can turn right on red. There's a car coming the other way, and they see you're sitting there. They don't even bother to, you know, think, oh, let me make sure I use my turn signal so this guy knows I'm turning. And he can go on out. Which you should be using your turn signal anyway. People in Alaska don't use their turn signals. Even a lot of the trucks don't use their turn signals. And if you use yours, it doesn't really matter to them because they don't use them anyway and they don't know what the hell that flashing light is for. So girlfriend years ago. Never used her turn signal. Used to drive me crazy. One day she called me, told me she got in an accident. I said, what happened? I was turning into my friend's house, and he tries to go around me right when I'm about to turn left, and he hits me. I said, oh. I said, did you have your turn signal on? I don't remember. I said, well, if you don't remember, and judging by the fact I hardly ever see you using it, I'm going to take a safe bet that you weren't. And he rolls up there and sees somebody stopped in the middle of the road, and he doesn't know what you're doing, so he starts to go around you about the time you turn left. She goes, well, it doesn't matter. I said, yeah, it does matter. Because if you weren't using your turn signal, they could say it was your fault. You should have been signaling your intention. Now, this was years ago before anybody had dash cams. So it would have been her word against his. I don't know whatever happened with the case. I broke up with her not long after that. Not for that reason, but I don't know. But, you know, nowadays with dash cams and such, you should be more careful about what you do and how you drive. Some people seem to drive worse. That's why a lot of these trucks now, you'll see they'll have a sticker on the back of their trailer saying, you know, you're on camera. To kind of let people know, hey, you know, you want to drive stupid around me, that's fine. It's all being recorded. That's why you see some trucks, they have a camera facing front, they have cameras facing out to the side, to the back, because they want to catch whatever stupid crap someone does. Because there are, I know a guy, and I think I told this story, who got rear-ended by a car, and they tried to make it like it was his fault, and his insurance company, or the insurance company the company worked for, actually paid him some money just to shut him up. Now, if they'd had a camera facing back there, you know, on the trailer or something, and would have saw it, they probably would have been more inclined to not pay her anything. Even though it should have been obvious to them. She rear-ended him. He was going down the freeway. She wasn't paying attention. So you gotta have cameras all over the place now. At least all over outside of the truck. Also one of those people that when she'd come up to a red light, she'd come up at it full speed, and right before she gets to the red light, she'd lay on the brakes. And one day she was complaining about her brakes squealing. She goes, I just had my brakes replaced, they're squealing already. I said, I know why they're squealing, because you're on them so hard all the time. I said, you know, you can let off the accelerator before you get to that red light. I'm just saying. Anyway, I don't mean to bust on. That was decades ago. I'm not going to say her name, but my wife's a very good driver. She's a very careful driver. She's a very good driver. She drives pretty much the speed limit. Like, speed limit 75. She may set the cruise on 78 or something, but that's about it. She's a very careful driver. I don't have to worry about her driving. Everybody else around her I have to worry about, but I don't have to worry about her driving. First moved to Dallas, she was really nervous about driving on the freeways. I mean, the biggest city she used to go to was Amarillo before that. I mean, she'd been to other places, but she didn't do it a lot. She didn't do a lot of traveling. And but she learned. She got to where she could get around on the freeways pretty good. grab something. Without running off the road. Like we got Popo sitting in the middle there. Yep. Sheriff's Department. Well, I'm not speeding, Popo. I'm doing 75 right on the button. Actually about to slow down because this pickup truck's moving pretty slow, and I don't think I'm going to bother passing them. Well, I don't know. We'll see how slow they're going. Ooh, they're going awful slow. You always catch up to these people right before you're about to get off the road. That's when you always run up on people like this, it seems like. Dang, dude. I'll just stay behind him. There's a plant right up there in front of me. My wife actually worked here decades ago. She lived in Amarillo then. I'll keep the video running until I get up to the guardhouse or at least get in line if there's any bunch of other trucks. They've expanded this place, they've added on to it. been here for decades. You know, it was IBP for decades, and then Tyson bought out IBP. That's mainly about all we do are the Tysons that used to be IBPs. We don't do the chickens and all that. We haul box beef. Somebody asked me about swinging beef the other day. I don't know if anyone's really doing swinging beef anymore. Well, swinging beef was dangerous. Well, dangerous if you didn't know what you were doing. And looks like I can see to my right there, there's a few trucks in line, not too bad. See what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not bad. And here we are. And that is it. We're going to check in. And over there to the right, I'll drop this loaded trailer and go get it empty. We put it here that I've arrived in my tablet here. Almost put arrived at shipper. No, arrived at the customer. Alright, I'll go ahead and end this video, and because all you're going to see is the back of these trailers till we get up there to the guard shack, which may take a bit. This guy decided to pull up. I don't know what he's doing. I think he was trying to slide his axles. They didn't slide. They didn't slide, bro. I don't know, bro. Anyway, like and subscribe and all that hullabaloo, and I'd really appreciate it. And I'm gonna try to do a live stream while I'm home. And I know I haven't done one while I was driving. I keep saying I'm going to, and I haven't done it yet. And I'm a piece of crap, and I get it. I promise I'll try to do one the next time I leave out. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.